Section 17.1, I'm going to discuss springs and Hooke's law. An elastic object is one that can return to its original shape if some force causes it to be deformed or changes its shape. Examples include things like basketballs, bungee cords, or most especially springs that we're going to focus on here. And what's important is that elastic objects have a tendency to return back to its original equilibrium shape. Or if we're talking about just one dimension, like with a spring or a bungee cord, we're going to talk about its equilibrium length. And it does that through what's called a restoring force. The elastic object wants to be at its equilibrium shape or equilibrium length, and so it will apply forces to anything in contact with the ends of the spring in order to return to its equilibrium shape. And so, depending on whether it is stretched or compressed, that is what's going to determine which direction the spring or spring-like object will exert forces on objects. If you stretch or compress a spring or a spring-like object, like a rubber band or a bungee cord, then it will exert a force to return to its equilibrium shape. And the strength of that force is described in what's known as Hooke's law, and Hooke's law is really an equation that's shown right here. In that equation, x is the distance that is the spring is either stretched or compressed. Usually we're going to be working in meters. And K is what's referred to as the spring constant, and that is going to have units of newtons per meter. And you can remember that those are the units. If you take the equation here, rearrange it for K, you get force over X. And remember that force is measured in newtons, X is measured in meters because it's a distance. So that's why we have units of newtons per meter for the spring constant. And what the spring constant is, it's a property of a particular spring. So different springs have different spring constants, and it reflects how stiff the spring is. A spring that is not very stiff, like a slinky, would have a very low value of K, where a spring that is very stiff, like the shocks on a car, would have a very large value for the spring constant. And I also want to note that Hooke's law is really just an approximation. Right? It says that the force is proportional to the stretch or compression distance, and that is true only for some range of stretches and compressions. It obviously won't work for any value of x. If you stretch a spring way too far, it will have permanent deformation, and it will not return to its original shape, and therefore Hooke's law is not valid. So Hooke's law is only good for springs and spring-like objects in some range of stretch or compression. Now for a few examples. In this example, the wheels of a car are supported by large springs that are called shock absorbers that have a spring constant of 150 kilonewtons per meter. So that's going to be the value of the spring constant that we call K. And we want to express this in standard units. So kilo means 1,000. So we're going to multiply this 150 by 1,000 to put this in standard units of newtons per meter. If three passengers, each with a mass of 100 kilograms, get into the car, how much do we expect the car to drop in height? So if we draw a quick free body diagram, when the three passengers get into the car, they are going to add 3 times each of their weights, pulling down. And there are 4 springs pushing up. So there will be a spring force pushing up and 4 times the spring force in each spring. And eventually the car is going to come to rest, and so the car will be acted on by 0 net force, which means forces are going to be balanced. The spring force exerted by each spring will equal the value of K times the compression of the springs. And the compression of the springs is how far the car is going to drop in height. So I will substitute in K times X for the spring force, and I can substitute in M times G for the weight of each passenger. And now if I solve this for x, I'll have 3 times mass times g, and I will have to divide each side by 4, and I'll have to divide by the value of k. I have values for each of these variables. The mass is 100, g is 10, and the value of k is 150,000, and we end up getting a value of 0.005 meters, which is about half a centimeter. Okay. Perfectly reasonable for how far a car is going to drop with typical springs. Let's look at one more example. Here we have a certain spring that exerts a force of 10 newtons when it is compressed to half its equilibrium length. So we're dealing with Hooke's law here, where the force exerted by the spring is equal to k times x. Now, it says that we get 10 newtons of force when it is compressed to half its length. So if its length is L and it's compressed to half the length, that means that its change in length is 1/2 the equilibrium length L. I don't know what L is. I don't know what K is. But we can use this to find the force that's exerted when it's stretched to twice its equilibrium length. So again, we've got the spring force is equal to k times x. I'm looking for the spring force, so that's my unknown. The value for k we can find from over here. If I solve this for k, I get 10 newtons divided by half the length. And so that's the value for k, 10 newtons divided by half the length. Now, if it is stretched to twice its equilibrium length, that means that it's been stretched by a distance equal to its length. So the stretch distance x is really just the original length of the spring. And so now we can cancel out the length of the spring and solve for the value of the spring force. 10 divided by a half is 20 newtons. Now for one more example. This one's a little more complicated. Here we have a spring with a force constant of 120 newtons per meter being used to push a 0.4 kilogram block of wood against a wall. We want to find the minimum compression of the spring, and we're given the coefficient of static friction. So we should remember that coefficient of static friction is mu s, and so we have that value. Now, if we draw a free body diagram showing all the forces, we're going to basically copy what's going on here. We've got the weight pulling down. The spring is compressed, so it's going to push to the right. So we'll call that Fs for the force exerted by the spring. The normal force is going to act to the left, because remember, the normal force always acts normal or perpendicular to the surface of contact. Here we have a vertical surface of contact. So we have a horizontal normal force, and to prevent the block from slipping down the wall, static friction will have to pull up on the block. Okay, and if the block is to remain where it is, we know that static friction has to equal the weight. Now, static friction has a maximum value. Static friction is not allowed to exceed the normal force times the coefficient of static friction. So I can substitute in for the weight force m times g. And that can't be any bigger than mu s times the normal force. Well, the normal force, which acts to the left on the block, has to balance the spring force. And the spring force, by Hooke's law, is equal to k times x. So the normal force we can substitute K times X for that. And if I solve this for X, I can solve for X by dividing by K and dividing by mu S. X has to be bigger than mg divided by mu S times K. And I have all these values. So the mass is given as 0.4, G is still 10, mu S is 0.5, and K is 120. Putting all those values in, you end up getting 0.067 meters, which is 6.7 centimeters. So as long as the spring is compressed 6.7 centimeters or more, then the spring force will be large enough to provide a large enough normal force to provide enough static friction force to balance the weight.